Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. On today's show, I'm going to give you some information. I'm going to feed you information that you need to hear because I think it's very important for you to understand that the path that you're on for retirement, for success, for money, whatever your objective is, it's flawed. What you're doing to get ahead is really focused on keeping up with the Joneses. You know, yesterday I went into great detail about what I call false beliefs, and I don't just call them that because I call them that. It's because of the research that I've done that indicated to me that false beliefs are absolutely out there. And those false beliefs impact you in a negative way. They keep you from doing the things that you need to do in order to change the direction of your life. You know, we get these false beliefs imprinted upon us at a very early age. We do. You know, we're all taught, go to school, get good grades, get into a college, get good grades, get a job. And with that job, you start off in the workforce. You start earning income. Maybe you get some other benefits, health benefits, things like that. Maybe they put you on a retirement plan. Usually that involves maybe a 401k, or you have to go out and outsource your own with like an IRA, or, you know, maybe there's a pension involved, something like that. And the problem with conventional wisdom is that it is failing so many people. And I'm not making that up. There's plenty of research out there that you can find on your own that flat out says what you're doing for retirement is most likely going to fail you. And I'll tell you what, I had that smash me square between the eyes when I retired from the military. Yeah, I was getting a pension. I had earned a pension, but that pension was only paying 1/3 of what I had been making on active duty. So I had a huge financial catastrophe in my life as I scrambled to find a job so that I could replace that income. And when I finally found that job 10 months later, the financial damage had been done. And I had to start digging myself out of that brief period of my life where everything went haywire. Well, I did it. And I did it with the help of an organization called Lifestyles Unlimited. And Lifestyles Unlimited is a members-based organization that is designed specifically to teach you the proper way to invest in residential income-producing assets. And I'll tell you what, it works. It also helps you to understand how to fix some of the things that you've done in your life to kind of restructure what's really important. And along the way, you get to meet some absolutely incredible people that have done the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do on today's show is I'm going to feed you that information. I'm going to feed you information that comes not from me, but it comes from some of our members. See, one of the things that we do as an organization, as a membership-based organization, is we help each other to achieve success. And along that way, one of the things we ask our members to do when they achieve success is to give back, because giving back is a very important component of building wealth. And when we ask our members to give back, we ask them to stand up in front of the group, which can be nerve-wracking at times for some people. Not everybody's a great public speaker. But what we have them do is present information on real estate that they've acquired following the teachings that we provide. It's essentially a report on how they found a property, how they acquired it, what they did to renovate the property if renovation was necessary, who they talked to along the way, who was their mentor, who did they put on their team, what did that team do for them, how did they find that great resident for the property, was it difficult or was it not difficult, what is the financial element of that deal? In other words, how is that deal providing returns for you on the investment that you made? And we share it all. We share it all. We're not an organization that, only a small group of people gets to understand certain components. That's not the way we roll. We roll in a completely different modality. It's ironic. I've got a couple of business degrees, and one of the things that they teach in business school is that McDonald's doesn't run down the street to Burger King to take a look at what Burger King is doing to improve performance or with their product lines or things like that. It just doesn't happen in corporate America. But it happens in our classrooms because it is absolutely important for people to understand that by putting into practice, by putting to work the information that you receive through the educational programs, you can achieve success. So what these members have done is they have come back and they said, look, this is what I did, and we get the opportunity to learn from it. And what I'm going to do for you today, for the rest of the show, is I'm going to give you feedback. I'm going to give you information that you need to hear. So stick around because it's going to get exciting.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. So on today's show, what we're doing is I'm sharing information with you. I'm sharing information that you need to hear because you need to understand that there is a better way for you to approach whatever it is you're trying to achieve in life. Everybody needs money. I mean, we live in a capitalist society. Money drives a lot of things. And as a result of that, money tends to be a driver for what we do. I mean, it's one of the reasons we go to work, to earn money, so that we can pay for our lifestyle. It is what it is. So what I'm going to share with you now is some information about one of our members. And we had a gentleman by the name of Richard present at one of our recent case studies. Now, he and his wife, Cindy, have been members of Lifestyles Unlimited for, well, not even a year. They joined in December of last year. And at this particular case study, Richard presented the first of 3 properties that he has acquired. And he has done all of this during COVID-19. So don't tell me that you can't go out and do this, because I'm presenting real information to you that says, yes, you can. Now, Richard, he's 40 years young. He's a former firefighter. He's a former football coach. He's done a lot of cool things. But as a firefighter, he was gone a lot. In other words, he was away from home. I mean, he would work 24-hour shifts routinely, and he started to figure out that he was missing out on the things in life that he felt were very important to him. And the most important thing for him, it's his family. Now, his wife, Cindy, she's self-employed. She owns a business. And together they have 4 beautiful children under the age of 10. And before they came to Lifestyles Unlimited, they had absolutely no real estate investing experience. None. Which is actually a good problem. Because what happens when you come to Lifestyles Unlimited with no real estate investing experience, you come to us with no bad habits that we have to help you fix. And when I get into the next case study later on in the show, that's an example of somebody that had some bad habits that had to be remedied. So Richard found Lifestyles Unlimited through the radio, and he wanted to get into real estate. And one day his dad just said, why don't you listen to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show? So he did, and he said, you know what? The information presented, well, it made sense to him. So he presented the first property that he acquired, and it's a property in the greater Houston area on a street called Glenhue. And the property, when he acquired it, was very, very dated. I mean, it had some problems to it that weren't just cosmetic. I mean, there was drywall missing in certain places of the house. When you looked at the pictures of the bathrooms, the first word that popped into my mind was nasty. You know, but it was just a typical property that our members buy. And that particular property just happened to have a lot of what we call deferred maintenance. And one of the things that Richard did was he built a solid team of professionals around him. So what that did for him is it made the acquisition, the rehab, and the leasing process on this particular property very, very smooth. Now, what I'm going to do for you now is I'm going to share with you the 5 ways he's making money on this asset. So it might be a little bit confusing, but don't sweat it. You need to hear this information. So this particular property, Richard was able to buy for $129,000 because it had some problems. Now, one of the things that he knew going into this deal was that properties in that particular subdivision, when all fixed up, were selling at a price range of about $185,000. So there was like $56,000 worth of potential equity sitting on the table, and he wanted to go get that. So he acquired the property. He used what's called hard money to do this. And if you don't understand what that is, when you become a member of our organization, we talk about that. As a matter of fact, when you come to our free workshop, we talk about how hard money works. And it doesn't cost you a dime to learn the process, and we're glad to share it with you. So because this property had a lot of issues, and he had the right contractors working for him, he knew it was going to take about $31,000 to do all the rehab on this property. And he was going to have some closing and holding costs, which turned out to be a little over $11,000. So he was looking to capture equity in this property of almost $14,000. Cash out of pocket that he needed to do this deal was right at $25,000. So he made essentially a $25,000 all-in investment on this property. And his return on capital gain, the fact is that he gained almost $14,000 worth of equity that was in the property in addition to the money that he put in. He captured about 55% of equity against the amount of money he placed on the property. Now, this particular property, all fixed up, commands a rent for $1,500 a month. And when he pays all of his associated expenses with operating the property, his monthly cash flow works out to be about $315. Annualized is $3,780. So when you take a look at his annual cash flow of $3,780 and you divide that by his cash out of pocket, which was under $25,000, he's getting about a 15% return on his money. Now, another way that he makes money on this property is the fact that the IRS tells him that he needs to take depreciation loss on a property, meaning that in the IRS's mind, properties are going down in value because they're deteriorating, even though that's not necessarily the case. So he gets to write off $67.27 a year in depreciation against that rental income of $37.80. What that means is he's not paying any taxes on that rental income, and he gets an additional almost $3,000 that he can use to write off against other income. Pretty cool thing. Now, this property, it's probably going to go up in value. What we find is that properties have a tendency to appreciate in value and double every 20 years. So I'm going to use a very conservative number. I'm going to say, okay, let's just say it goes up 3.5% per year. So in year one, the equity would raise in this property by almost $6,500. In year two, it jumps to about $6,700. In year three, it jumps to about $6,900. So over a 3-year holding period, the property has the potential to go up by about $20,000 in value. That is a pretty cool thing. When we come back from the break, I'm going to finish up the 5 ways that we make money in real estate, and then I'm going to talk about my other investor, Jamie, who came to us with some bad habits, but that wasn't a problem.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. So what I'm doing today is feeding you a bunch of information. And it's information that you need to hear because it's information that has the ability to change your life. And to change it based on what you're trying to achieve with that life. Yeah, I'm telling you about some of the members at Lifestyles Unlimited and some of the properties that they have acquired. And by acquiring these properties and doing the things that we teach, they are changing their lives and they are getting themselves redirected and based on what they hope to achieve out of life, not what someone else directs them to do. And that's a big problem in society. It really is. So we were talking about Richard's investment, and this is a property that he acquired in the greater Houston area. We talked about the fact that he put about $25,000 into this particular property, and it's returns 5 different ways. Now, the first thing that he got was a 55% return on capital gains. In other words, by putting that $25,000 into this deal, he captured an additional equity of about $13,700. He also receives rental payments every month. Because he selected the right resident, that resident is paying on time on the 1st every month, even though we've been going through coronavirus. And that is returning a monthly cash flow of $315 for him, which translates into giving himself and his family a raise of $3,780. That's a 15% return on a cash-on-cash basis. Now, the property is also going up in value. A 3-year forecast based on a 3.5% growth rate works out to be about a $20,000 increase in the value. So in 3 years, that property should be worth around $205,000. Might be worth more, might be worth less. I don't have an accurate crystal ball. I'm just going based on what properties have done on the past, and as a result, determining what they have the potential to do in the future. Now, one of the things that he did once he renovated the property and stabilized it was he put a conventional loan on that property. And what that conventional loan did for him is it provided him the correct leverage for that property. And that loan will pay down every month that he makes that payment. He's going to receive about $8,000 worth of additional equity in that property as that loan pays down over a 3-year period. That's the way loans work. Part of the payment goes to principal, part of the payment goes to interest. So he's getting additional value in that property just by holding that asset and paying down the loan. Now, let's assume the loan that he put on that property is $148,000. Well, you don't have to assume it. That's what he did. In 3 years, that loan balance should be down around $140,000. So let's say he has an exit strategy at 3 years. He determines that at the end of 3 years, it's time to let this asset go and replace it with other assets. He's looking at an equity at sale of about $65,000. And when you factor in the cost of sale, I use an 8% number because that usually covers commissions, it covers insurance, it covers title insurance, that is. It covers the escrow fees. That'll be about a little over $5,000. So his adjusted capital gain in this property will be right at about $60,000. So that $60,000 he'll put into his pocket that he can reinvest into other assets. Now, is he going to have capital gains liability and recovered depreciation at the end of 3 years? Yeah. So he's got to factor that in. But it's not that big. It's really not that big. I mean, when you think about it, he put $25,000 into this property. When he sells it, he's going to take about $60,000 out. Even if he pays the capital gains and the recaptured depreciation, based on what he's done, he should be able to pick up 2 properties if he just used this particular property that he bought as the model. Now, let's say he decides he didn't want to sell it. He likes that property. It's doing great. He thinks it's going to keep going up in value, whatever his motivation is. Let's say he decides to do a cash out refinance on this property. He can do that. And what he would do is put a new loan of about $164,000 on the property. And by doing so, he would pull out about $24,000, almost his entire seed capital, tax-free. See, when the IRS taxes you capital gains, they do it based on a transfer of title. Restructuring debt, they don't care about. You can restructure debt all day long. That's how you pull money out of properties tax-free. It gets a little complicated, but we explain everything in our 2-day financial freedom seminar. Now, the other things I want to share with you about Richard is that this particular property is not his only property. He has acquired 2 additional properties that are going through the renovation phase right now. And these properties will boast a much bigger equity capture because he, after getting the first one done, he kind of refined his goals and objectives and determined that what he's really trying to do is to amass wealth. So the follow-on properties that he acquired, he didn't present information on them last night because they're not done. He's going to do even better when it comes to equity capture. Now, some of you might be wondering, okay, where does a guy who's been a firefighter, been a football coach, where does he get the money to invest? What he did was he turned to his pension fund. And he determined, after talking with his CPA, that his returns would be much better by putting the money to work for him in real estate than what that pension was providing. Yeah, that's the way it is. So we asked him, how has your membership in Lifestyles Unlimited changed your life? And he was very frank. He said the first thing that it did was that he learned how to wisely spend money, and he learned the benefits of real estate investing. And as a result of that, he was able to see a path forward that was not just a vision, but something tangible that he could follow. And that resulted in income streams that he receives every month on this particular property in the form of cash flow. He realized that he could build wealth and that the wealth he was creating with real estate was having a positive impact on his life as well as his family. Now, he's got goals because we all have goals, and his are formulated and correct for what he's trying to do. He plans to buy 2 more single-family homes this particular year, even though he's got 2 in the works, because he is going for it. Ultimately, he wants to build a single-family and multifamily portfolio that will give him time back in his life, time that he can use to spend with his children and to help them grow up. And more importantly, to be a part of their lives as they grow up. He also plans to do some traveling and to develop a lifestyle that used to be just a dream. Now he can see it coming to fruition. And the advice he gave everybody that attended that case study, he said this: you need to take action. You need to get educated. You need to identify your mentor. You need to build your team. He said building the team was very easy because he was able to lean heavily on the Lifestyles Unlimited vendor program, which is a part of everybody's membership. And he capped it off by saying, Del Walmsley gave us a map, follow the map. It's easy. You can get it done. When we come back from the break, I'm going to talk about Jamie, who has brought some bad habits to Lifestyles Unlimited, but we helped her fix them. Stick around.
Here's Lifestyles Unlimited founder and CEO, self-made multimillionaire, and national radio host, Del Walmsley, on getting the information you need to get through this.
So you ask yourself, isn't this the wrong time to get out of the stock market? Very well could be. But maybe it might go down. And then you ask yourself, man, if I would have had some of that money, I could have used it. People are going to be afraid. And the people who are in real estate that are losing money are going to be afraid. And they're going to want to get out. And when they do, we're going to be able to go in and buy at very advantageous prices that are going to change our family's future, quite honestly. So you need information on how to do that. You need the knowledge of how to get through this. You need to get into Lifestyles right now.
Lifestyles Unlimited has been helping people succeed since 1990. Join us for our free online real estate workshop and learn the 7 principles we teach to run our businesses and provide for our families. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. So we're sharing some information with you, information that you need to hear, because this type of information is information that will have the ability to change your life. It's going to imprint upon your brain an opportunity for you to realize that you need to follow up with this information. You need to do the things necessary to understand how to put this information into play and how for it to work on your behalf so that you can change the path that you're on. I guarantee you, the path that you're on may not be working for you. And I know this for a fact because been there, done that. So what I'm sharing with you today is information that was presented at a recent case study where members of Lifestyles Unlimited give back to the community and they share what they have achieved by following the things that we educate you on with regards to investing in real estate, and not just investing in real estate, investing correctly in real estate. Now, the next case study was presented by Jamie. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and her husband, Bruce, because they come from a different place than Richard and his wife, Cindy, does. Jamie has multiple degrees, including a Master of Science in financial planning, of all things. She teaches people how to sit for the MBA admissions exam, and she owns 4 different businesses that she operates. So she's a pretty smart lady. Her husband, Bruce, well, he has a master's in forensic science. Now, he used to be a police officer. He served proudly doing that. And he is currently studying to become a home inspector because he's interested in that sort of stuff. He also self-manages all of the rental properties that he and Jamie own together. And they have a beautiful 9-year-old daughter that is the joy of their life. They came to Lifestyles Unlimited because they had bought investment real estate in the 13 years before they became members. And to give you an idea of what they were doing, they told us. They said some of the assets that they held were a vacation rental, and they had lots of problems with that due to constant turnover, and they really weren't making any money. They owned a 16-unit apartment community in College Station, which was really a collection of 4 fourplexes, and they were getting a 6% cash-on-cash return. And the reason they were getting a 6.0 cash-on-cash return was because when they bought these properties, they bought them incorrectly. When they acquired them, the properties were 35 years of age. And the big mistake that they made was they didn't account for all of the deferred maintenance that existed in those properties. So their experience was constantly dealing with repairs. And because of that, it absolutely destroyed the potential that for the returns they could have made had they acquired these properties correctly. They also owned 2 luxury townhomes in a place called Greenwich, Connecticut. Now, they had some partners on those deals, and when the dust settles, they get about a 4% cash-on-cash return on those properties. Now, we don't advise people to go buy luxury units because luxury units don't necessarily have the potential to give you the returns that workforce housing does. Jamie and Bruce knew other people were making money in real estate, and they were searching for answers. You know, their investments really weren't providing the returns that they wanted, so they turned to us for a solution. But before they did, they discovered other programs, and they went and they checked them out. But to quote Jamie, she says, I was disappointed with those programs. When they finally came to Lifestyles Unlimited and heard what we had to say, they chose to become members in our organization because, quoting to her, it was clearly for real. Now, the property that they presented is a property in Texas City, and that property was in very poor condition. And really the only thing salvageable in the entire property was the built-in cabinet. Somehow they had survived whatever that home had gone through. Now, that home needed new flooring, a new roof, a new water heater, new HVAC, new interior and exterior paint, new appliances, and other things. And I'll tell you what, they built a solid team. The majority of them they found on the Lifestyles Unlimited vendor list, which is available to all of our members, and they changed that property. They absolutely turned that property around. They turned it into a beautiful property that they had no problems finding a qualified resident to lease. Now, this property, it's a little bit different than the one that Richard bought. See, Jamie was able to buy this property for $78,500 because of all the issues that were associated with this property and the fact that they took the time because they knew that they needed to understand what was wrong with the property because you need to calculate all those things if you're going to pursue the investment. Now, the property in that neighborhood received an appraisal for $142,000 once it was all done because fixed up properties in that neighborhood were trading at that price range. So going into the deal, she knew that they had about $63,500 in equity to work with. Now, the rehab on this price, can't talk. Rehab on this property came in right at $34,000, and they had closing and holding costs of about $8,300, which meant when you took those costs out of the equation, they captured a net equity of $21,149. Now, their actual cash out of pocket to do this deal, because they used hard money and they used it effectively, was under $17,000, which means that the return on the equity that they captured, or the return on the capital gain, that came in at 127%. So let me explain what that really means. By doing things the way we teach, by finding the right asset to acquire, they were able to put a set amount of money into this property, just under $17,000, and they were able to capture equity in this property of over $21,000. That's how they they literally doubled their money. The rent they receive on this property works out to be $1,225 a month. That's $14,700 annual. And the cash flow after they pay all the associated costs with operating the property works out to be $378 a month. That translates into a $4,536 a year raise for themselves. Their cash on cash return, based on the fact they put less than $17,000 into that deal and they're receiving over $4,500 per year in income, that's a 27% return on their money. They're doing real well with this. Now, because they can depreciate the property, and the IRS expects you to do that, the depreciation cost on this property is actually more than the rental income that they're commanding. So they're not going to pay any taxes on that income. As a matter of fact, they're going to have about $628 that they can carry over to other income streams. If they hold the property for 3 years, and assuming just like 3.5% appreciation over time, that property is going to increase in value around $15,000. So the projected future value of this property works out to be $157,500. They're getting principal pay down because they have a mortgage on this property. They've got a mortgage value of $123,200. And because that mortgage every month pays towards principal and interest, the principal pay down that they will command over 3 years is going to be $6,250. So that's going to reduce their loan payment down to $116,950. If they decide to sell after 3 years, when you calculate the cost of sale in there, they're looking at around $40,000 in equity, take about $3,000 off for closing costs, and they would wind up putting a little over $37,000 into their pocket. Now that's kind of interesting because $37,000 going into their pocket is more than double than they put into the property. So they could easily do this 2 more times. I mean, that's kind of the way it works, to be honest with you. These are just examples of people that have changed their lives by becoming members of Lifestyles Unlimited, going through the educational programs that we offer, and then putting that information to work, surrounding themselves with like-minded people so that they get all the feedback and support that they need, and they're doing great. And if you want to do it too, go to freeworkshoplivestream.com. And remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.